Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. This is where we talk all about how to build your own business, how to become your own boss, how to build passive income, and how to become the person you want to be. So if building wealth sounds like something that you are trying to do, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any more important videos. So without rambling too much, let's go ahead and get started. So today I will be running you guys down through some of the pros and cons of sourcing on Alibaba versus some of the pros and cons of sourcing within the United States. So if you want to get a detailed description of which one's better, then keep on watching this video. A lot of people may be wondering, should I source from Alibaba or should I source from FashionGo.net? And I mean, there's a bunch of ways I can answer this question, but I'm going to help you by breaking it down to you into the pros and cons of each one, and then in the end, it'll help to determine which one suits your business the best. Let's get started with some of the pros of Alibaba. Some of the many pros of Alibaba is that obviously it's a lot cheaper. When you're purchasing from Alibaba, you get advantages such as bulk discounts, being able to negotiate the minimum order quantities, the quantities at which you can private label at. You can even ask them to send you a size chart. You can mix and match styles. There is so many different things that you have access to on Alibaba that you don't on FashionGo. That is one of the many pros of Alibaba that you will not get with the LA Fashion District. For example, when you're talking to a supplier in Alibaba, most of the time you're talking directly to the person who makes that clothing. And the good thing about that is that you can ask for things to be modified. You can negotiate your shipping, you can negotiate the minimum order quantity, you can ask them to private label things for you by paying them an extra price instead of purchasing a certain amount and struggling by doing it yourself. Now, don't get me wrong, the vendors in LA can definitely private label for you, but most of them require that you buy 120 pieces in one style and one color in order for them to private label it for you. To put that into perspective, on average, a good piece of clothing from the LA Fashion District is between $15 to $20. So $15 to $20 times 120, that'll come out to about $1,800 to $2.4 just for one style and one color. Meaning if you want to purchase a dress that comes in pink and blue, you must purchase 120 pieces in just the pink one in order to get your stuff private labeled. Can you imagine how expensive that is for somebody that is brand new in the business? Even some very developed businesses don't reach this point, and that's why when you go into certain stores and certain boutiques, you will see that their clothes is still not private labeled. So with that being said, on Alibaba, you can negotiate it down to as low as 50 pieces where you can mix and match the styles. So that means I could have purchased 3 styles in one dress, 10 styles in the other, and then 25 in the other as long as it equaled up to 50. And then all they do is ask you to pay an extra fee that's usually $30 to $60, and that's it. Your stuff is private labeled. It's really simple. So that is one of the pros of Alibaba and one of the cons of FashionGo. So going back to negotiation, the other great thing about Alibaba is there's a lot of room for negotiation for just about anything. You can negotiate the shipping price, you can negotiate the shipping terms, the payment terms, the price of the item, MOQs, things like that. With LA, there's really no room for negotiation. You kind of get what you see. So that's another pro of Alibaba and another con of FashionGo. And don't worry, I will be flipping this video around and talking about the pros of FashionGo and the cons of Alibaba. So this video is not purely talking down on FashionGo and glamorizing Alibaba. It is going to look at both sides equally. So stay tuned because this is not what this video is going to be all about. So the next thing I want to talk about is that you can actually order samples and test the quality of your supplier when you're ordering overseas. On LA Showroom or FashionGo or Orange Shine, you can't do that at all. You just kind of have to guess and go with your gut feeling and hope that the quality is good. Now, granted, in most cases, because it is a US vendor and we have all kinds of policies and restrictions placed here, most of the time you will not get scammed purchasing from an LA vendor, but you still have to be careful because a lot of them don't have reviews, and if they do, sometimes they're not even legit reviews. Another huge downside of wholesaling from FashionGo is that most of the vendors are very limited in sizing. Now, what I mean by this is that a lot of vendors only offer sizes small through large. Now, you can find a vendor that offers plus sizing and is specifically for plus size, but it's really hard to have that consistency of the same style in both sizes, and a lot of vendors unfortunately do not have both plus and regular sizing in their store. So So that's one of the things that kind of sucked about wholesaling from LA. Now, the good thing with Alibaba that I have actually recently found out is that a lot of vendors can customize their sizes to your size chart. A lot of the times their size chart runs a lot smaller than yours, so make sure you have that to compare when you're asking the supplier for samples and asking them for quotes, because a lot of the times a custom size will also be considered a custom order. So they may have a different minimum order quantity for that than they would for just ordering normal things that are already in stock in their sizes. So keep in mind that you can have them customize your sizes, usually all the way up to 5XL on Alibaba, where you cannot with FashionGo. So that's another point for Alibaba, another minus for FashionGo. But we are almost done bashing FashionGo. We're about to get to the part where it's going to be talking about the pros of FashionGo and the cons of Alibaba, but I have just a few more points to get across before we get there. So I've already kind of mentioned this, there's a lot more variety. One thing I want to address is that on Alibaba, things don't sell out as quick. Keep in mind that these people are making hundreds and thousands of these units a day, so there's going to be a much lower chance of the things being sold out on Alibaba than there is on FashionGo. And also, I want to give you an example. So one of the vendors that I really love from LA is called Tresser, and unfortunately they're out of their products almost all the time. I was preparing for my spring collection this year that I marked and I was ready, and then I left for a few hours, came back, and most of the stuff was gone. So you do have to be careful. Your reputable vendors are great, but the downside is that they sell out really quick. So you gotta be quick in knowing what you want. There's really no room for planning unless you're planning months and months and months ahead. But the thing that sucks about that is they don't always have the styles ready for that particular season. So it's kind of like a double-ended sword there. It's like you want to plan early, but you kind of can't because you don't have the designs yet. So that's another downside of FashionGo. Alright, so now we are getting into the cons of Alibaba and the pros that FashionGo has against them. So one of the many cons on Alibaba that make this alone just not worth it to people is the language barrier and the time difference. The thing that sucks is that sometimes it can take an entire day just to get one message across. And if you're not catching them at like midnight, you might not hear from them at all until the next day. And sometimes if you are staying up late, they're too busy to respond to you. So it's really hard to communicate with them because of the huge gap in time, as well as the language barrier, because obviously English is not their first language. So sometimes they may get confused on what you're asking and you have to re-clarify it for them in different terms. It makes the process of ordering samples and getting things delivered to you just 10 times harder, but it's not their fault and they do give us many advantages as well. So you really can't complain because they're trying their hardest to make everything work for you. So if you get in this situation, please be understanding and be polite, but still try to get your point across. So yes, one of the many downsides of Alibaba is there's a huge language barrier as well as the time difference, and one of the pros of FashionGo is that you're not going to have that. The communication, it's going to be pretty seamless. There's also not that huge time difference, so you can get your answers back like this. So that's one point for FashionGo, one detractor for Alibaba. So this brings me to my next point that you kind of have to be wary of, and that is scams. And I know you've heard this before, and unfortunately, yes, there's a lot of scammers on Alibaba. What I mean by scam is, sure, maybe they'll ship the item out to you, place your order, charge you the correct amount and all that, but when you get the item, it's going to be either paper thin, or the quality is not going to be as described, or it's going to look nothing like what was on the model. There is a higher possibility that you will run into quality issues and scammers on Alibaba. Now, don't get me wrong, you can definitely still get scammed on FashionGo the same way you could by getting an item that's not up to par with the quality, but the chances are a lot lower, and it's probably a lot safer if that's one of your biggest concerns. So that's another detractor for Alibaba and another plus for FashionGo. The next thing I want to talk about is that there is definitely a steeper learning curve when you are first beginning to source. Finding vendors on Alibaba was one of the hardest things I had to learn when I first started doing it. And by that, I mean you have to figure out what is the criteria for a reliable supplier. You have to learn the shipping terms. You have to learn how to use freight forwarders, what kind of questions to ask, how to order samples, how to not get scammed, how to pay correctly. I will say that there is a very steep learning curve with learning how to source on Alibaba, and that is something you must consider before you start. So that is my other detractor. I want to move on and talk about the next thing, which is having potential delays in shipping. This can happen for a number of reasons. It can be due to COVID, due to social issues, due to economical issues. It can happen at customs if there's an issue with your documentation and they want to hold your package. There's a lot of reasons why your shipping can get delayed, and it can suck because when it does get to customs, you don't really know when it's going going to leave. So that is really nerve-wracking. The delays in shipping really suck, especially when it is already in the United States. And obviously when we're shipping domestically, we don't have to worry about customs clearance. So that is one benefit of shipping within the USA rather than overseas. The other thing is longer shipping times, which is pretty obvious because unless you want to pay hundreds of dollars to get your shipment via DHL, you're going to be stuck waiting about a month or more to get your items. So the shipping times as well as the shipping expenses definitely suck. That is one thing you definitely do not have to deal with when you're sourcing from the United States. The last thing I want to talk about before we narrow this all down is when you source from FashionGo or Orange Shine, a lot of them have stock models that are already ready for you to use on your website. You do have to ask for permission, so don't just go screenshotting their models because some vendors don't allow it, some do. And overseas, it's very common to take pictures from other companies and use it on their website, which I do not recommend doing because there's a high chance that you might violate the copyright law. So do not just go using the pictures that the suppliers give you, whether they say you can or can't, because most of the times that is not their photos to begin with. So that is definitely a plus from using vendors here and a minus from using suppliers overseas. And now that we came to the end of this video, I want to go ahead and tell you what my end answer for you is. And my answer is, it's totally up to you. You're the one who has to sit down and look at the pros and cons of each and determine which one is going to be better for your business. I would say if you're looking for more variety, customization, bulk discounts, cheaper pricing, but you are willing to sacrifice the communication, you're willing to put in more effort to find a good supplier, learn some of the new things that you didn't need to know when you were sourcing here, then I recommend that you can go ahead and go with Alibaba. Now, if you're looking for more stability and better communication, cheaper and shorter shipping times, but in return you're okay with purchasing smaller quantities, having select sizes, private labeling yourself, and paying a little bit more money, then I say go ahead and go with FashionGo. Either way, they are both great choices to start your business, but everybody's situation is different and I cannot tell you which one is perfect for you. So I hope this video helped to clear it up a little and helped you kind of understand the key differences between them. If you like this video and want more videos on how to build your boutique, how to make passive income, how to become your own boss, and how to develop the mindset to get you there, make sure to subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, and turn on that notification bell to not miss any more important videos. So thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!